Bimal Roy, who is a Bengali Indian film director born in 12th July 1909. So Bimal Roy started making film not as an early Indian director, but his films were essentially what we call quote unquote middle cinema. Okay, so middle cinema was something that was started after independence through the hands of Satyajit Ray, Ritik Ghatak, and Mrinal Sen. But Bimal Roy was much ahead of its time. So, in spite of making something more mythological in structure or a more ornamented manner, he made something that was stark realism in the society. He did not cloak it with something because of the fear that the British might suspend or ban the entire cinema. He made the raw, realistic feature, and his name is essentially linked with masterpieces of the Indian cinema, including Do Bigha Zamin, Parinita, Madhumati, Sujata, Bandini. So these are the films that are must watch in order to understand the characteristics of films by Bimal Roy. You need to watch Do Bigha Zamin, because unless and until you watch this film, you won't be able to understand the stark realism that he's trying to portray, the thing that he wants to convey to the audience. Right, so this is extremely an extremely important film. You often get questions from this film as well. So in order to understand this, you need to watch this film. So Bimal Roy basically started off his career as a photographer. So like he was a professional photographer. So you can understand that he already had an idea about what type of cinematography to use in his film. So he knew how mise-en-scene played an important role in his cinema. So particularly his films were famous for mise-en-scene, and he was very much known for using natural settings than that of studio equipped settings. So his work was particularly known for mise-en-scene, which he employed to portray realism, right? So and he had a huge command over cinematography already. So it was not a problem for him to, align his directorial directions and his cinematographic directions, because he had idea of both the fields. So it was not much problem with him, and that is the exact reason why his films were famous in terms of mise-en-scene. So his themes, however, majority of the themes, however, portrayed the society and the oppression of women. And his most successfully commercial film was essentially Do Bigha Zamin, which I just told you that you need to watch that film, because it created something that is called the middle cinema. One of the most important striking feature at that point of time is that the use of common man as a protagonist. Okay, so he did not use any person who was cladded with stardom. So he used simple characters in order to portray the realism, in order to portray how middle class or people from the lower strata were treated at that point of time. So this film was essentially very much realistic and socialistic, and it was a huge commercial success at that point of time. People from the upper caste wanted to watch this film because it essentially portrayed the haves and the have-nots of the society. That at that point of time, realism was a buzzword. The more you show realism into a film, the more it gets accepted by the audience, and that is why his films are commercial success. And one of the major scenes that I would like to discuss, let me get to the next slide. You can see the stills of Do Bigha Zamin, how the actors are realistic. They did method acting at that point of time. Okay, so you can see, I will just move the screen a bit, so you can see the amount of expressions on their face, and everything is very much methodical in nature. So one of the major scenes in Do Bigha Zamin, if you watch the film, you will see that the protagonist Shambhu was a rickshaw puller, and how the person sitting on his rickshaw was a wealthy person, and how he was giving the money and he was raising the rates when he was actually hand pulling the rickshaw, and he was raising the rates, and he was running down the street with his rickshaw because he needs that money. he needs that money, and unless and he kept on running, and unless and until he fell down, and then everyone was like, no, he actually made the wealthy person fall down off the rickshaw. So that is the class struggle that was shown by Bimal Roy using the protagonist. So the protagonist was essentially known in an interview. He said that he actually made his figure or body structure like that using raw materials. Like, he actually practiced rickshaw pulling. So you see the amount of realism that was portrayed by these characters or the actors. So here one thing should be known, that the communication between the director and the protagonists or the actors were so well built that they exactly know that what the director is trying to portray through their particular character. So this is what was about Bimal Roy's film. His films were extremely commercial success, and he was regarded as the his films were regarded as the middle cinema of Indian cinema, because that was only started with the hands of Satyajit Ray in 1955. So this was about Bimal Roy.